Hello and welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle. We have made it to October the 1st, and while our thoughts turn to falling leaves, Halloween festivities and everything being covered in pumpkin spices, we're going to take a little trip back in time to pick out our top highlights and lowlights of the summer. Hopefully, it might warm us up a little bit. Welcome to the show.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I
Is it just me? How can it possibly be October already? It only seems like 2 minutes ago it was June, and we were chatting about all the exciting things that were going to be happening in our upcoming summers. Anyway, with me today.
that sigh tells its
I
own
know!
story.
It really does.
It really does. That sums it
Yeah.
up. But that
Claire,
sums up exactly it.
I'm glad you said June, because I thought you were going to say January, because January went on for so long.
Yeah, no.
I don't know where the rest of the year has gone to. It's October, Halloween.
Stop.
Yep.
Don't. As you can tell, with me today are John, Ben, and Becca's here too. Nice
Hello.
to have you all here. It's October, which is ridiculous. I can't
It is.
agree with it. I'm saying no.
It's
Yeah.
really weird,
That's
though,
all right.
Claire. I must admit, because I know we're actually in a position as a family where it's the first October in 20 odd years that none of the kids are at home. So
Oh, wow.
Wow.
yeah, and it is such a bizarre feeling.
Does
and-
that mean the microwave won't be going while we're doing a Wednesday show anymore?
Well, if it does, it'll be Alison's fault rather than Joe's.
We won't get a little ping and the zzz in the background.
Yeah.
Have you got
The thing
empty
that-
nest syndrome yet?
Yeah, but it's really
No.
weird because actually, I know we've spoken a little bit about this before we went away, and how exciting it was the fact that we went away and we went without kids. And actually, it's only since we came back, the kids really missed not being in Orlando, and
Yeah.
I think
bet.
that's really hit us quite hard throughout the whole of
Yeah.
September as we've come home, and then obviously said goodbye to Joe to university.
Yeah.
Josh is away gallivanting on his interrailing trip of a lifetime, but even he had sort of complete sort of FOMO, and both of them, it's hit both of them really hard in September, just of how much we actually enjoyed being away without them. So long may that continue throughout the empty nesting season, until
That's
Josh
so
comes back from
funny.
interrailing with his girlfriend, and I think they've got plans of moving in for a bit because they don't know what they're doing. So
Ah.
yeah, I'll enjoy the
I was
enjoy
to say,
the
you'll be in
silence
my
while
boat.
it's happening.
You've got empty nest. We've got overflowing nest.
Yeah,
because
that's
Morgan
okay.
has moved back in home.
Yeah,
So,
it's bizarre,
yeah.
isn't it?
but
absolutely
it's
bizarre.
good. It's good. Although I seem to spend my life cooking at the moment, so it's just one of those things that seems to.
So I'm guessing we're over the Disney blues as much as we can be, or
No.
no, it's
no.
Book another trip.
yeah.
Do you know? I'm going to have to, because actually, I know we say it's October. I can't remember coming back from a trip and actually feeling absolutely bereft for the whole of September. I've found it really difficult adjusting, and really difficult being back and doing, not just going to work, but just adapting to life, because I enjoyed our time away in August, and I've found it really tough, and it's probably quite a thing to actually say to people that this feeling is quite normal, and it took me quite a while to get to that. I've actually taken to going to the gym to just get me steps in, to get it back up to near Disney amount of steps.
My
I
watch has
found-
moaned at me saying like you haven't
Yeah.
moved.
Where's your
in
perfect week
September.
gone?
I found that's helped massively
That's a
in
good
just
idea.
trying to adjust myself, because actually I found September has been really difficult. I don't ever
One of the funniest
talk
things that
about
helped
it, but
me is
yeah.
booking something that's focused on the next trip. So weirdly enough, the other day we booked the parking at the airport and the hotel the night before. I was like, good, I'm feeling excited a little bit more about the holiday we've got coming up in January.
Yeah, but it's not a Disney trip.
I know, it's universal.
It doesn't
It's
matter. At least you know
Orlando.
you're
It's
going somewhere.
Orlando,
I think
but
that's exactly it.
unless a
Ben,
Moonlight Magic comes out for that week, in which point we'll probably be doing a Moonlight Magic.
That's
but-
true.
oh,
And we're going to have a car.
Yeah.
So,
the world will be your
Well,
Have you
oyster.
booked that?
yeah.
Who knows? Maybe some of the content of today's show will help people who are thinking of going in the near future or not so near future. And because we're most definitely not ready to mention Christmas yet.
Definitely not. It's
I need
banned.
to start my Christmas
It's
shopping.
banned.
Enough of that rubbish. We are going to think back to our summers and we're going to have a chat. And we haven't prepared this ahead of time because I've only just written the script. The top and bottom 5 things that we experienced and thought about our summer trips. So I know that we have had a couple of general discussions during our Wednesday live shows, but this should be a bit more in depth and a bit more focused and allow us to talk about a couple of specific things, which, well, that's my hope anyway. So we'll go with it and see where we get to.
All right, I'll just put that on my little note to self there. Focused. Right, there we go. All right.
You know what? Nothing we ever do is focused.
And I want to change.
And I'm also pretending that we think about this stuff ahead of time. We occasionally do, but this is not one of those times. So
No.
And I think
Go
this
with
makes
us.
it better because actually I know that whatever comes out of our mouths in the next part of the show is completely from the heart.
Yeah,
And I think between all of us we had such an amazing time away, and and we got a chance to meet up, and I think that was really such a special time. But I think as we come back and you start to sort of decompress and you sort of try to start to understand certain parts of what you experienced and certain things that went on whilst you're away, it's actually really nice to actually have a chance to actually talk about it during this show. And
cool.
I'll probably, by the time we get to November's show, there'll probably be an apologies and things that we missed out list as well. So
Okay, so we're going to start with our top 5 and bottom 5 attractions from our trips. And we're going to do 5 between us, which works because there's 4 of us. So I've thought that through.
So we did
Does
top
that mean-
4s and top
yeah, but that's
5.
not-
If we do
so
top
that
4
then
and then
means that
honourable
you get-
mentions, maybe.
Yeah,
you
honourable
get
mention.
You get the extra one as always, Claire.
No.
That's,
I'll squeeze
I'll
more
just
than one in,
choose,
you know
I'll
that.
just choose 2.
I
You know
think
how
some
this
of our
works.
top attractions are going to be the same.
I think they're all going to
that's
mostly
why-
come from the same park.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But yeah, go on, Ben. You can go first.
Oh, it's good. Do you know what? Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind. Get it out the way.
Really?
Do you know what? It was incredible to go and rewrite it again, but with family, seeing it through a different set of eyes. And because there was a lot of discussion, sort of the hour or so before we went on
Was that in
the
the queue?
ride. Yeah. And just like, oh, what's this going to be like? And I wasn't trying to spoil anything. So it was like saying it's a roller coaster, and I was getting loads of questions. How fast is it? Does it go backwards? I felt like I needed like Wikipedia to put up all the stats to tell them what it was, but I didn't want to spoil anything. So I was just like being tight-lipped, just going with it, and they loved it so much, and we all did.
I think they actually did it more times than we did that
I
trip.
think they did, yeah. They went back a few days after, back to EPCOT a couple more times, and
Wow.
I just kept seeing the pictures appear up on our memory maker.
Did they work out where the camera was? Because I still see pictures from my family who go regularly and they still aren't looking in the right place.
There
I'm
was
told.
one I did see where the camera, or where the car didn't turn for the photos, so where it didn't turn on the track at all, it just went straight round.
Oh, that's weird.
And so the pictures
wow.
that come off from that one were quite funny, because you just get half of people's faces.
Go on then, Becca. What was your top attraction?
Oh, my top attraction was probably, which one to choose? Battle of the Ministry.
Good choice.
It was a really good ride.
Yeah.
Brilliant new Harry Potter ride. Definitely worth the wait. Definitely need to do it again. The seamless transaction of the video and the animatronics and set pieces is amazing on that ride.
Yeah, I think also for me, the other good thing about that attraction was the queue line absolutely built up to the story of what was going on. So I don't know if there is the single rider line. John, you did the single rider, didn't you?
We did single rider, yeah.
Did you get to see all the same stuff? Did it go alongside? Did the single rider line go through all the different rooms that the normal queue went through? Do you know? Or did it cut around the back? Because I know in
I think
Universal Studios
it
and
cut
stuff.
around the back, and you basically you get more of an underground metro style feel to it. I probably missed probably loads and loads that is out
That's
there.
what because things like Escape from Gringotts and stuff, basically it's a corridor. You don't get any of the nice stuff. And I just wondered, because actually I think the queue line for Battle at the Ministry is
it's so good.
It's really good, and I think it absolutely. If you pay attention to the cinematography approach that they've used, so there's bits where it's in the Ministry, and then there's bits where it's, when you get to the Umbridge bit, and she's got different colour walls and all of that stuff actually, and then it changes back to another colour for a different area. If you're
it's
astute,
the colour change, but then you get the audio as well. How the audio changes through each section.
So you have to be quite astute and experience it, and be aware of what's going on around you. And if you spent we obviously just walked through the queue. We didn't actually get a chance to stop in any of the spaces other than snapping a few photos because it was so early in the morning. I would almost, and I slightly regret saying this already, I'd quite like to be in the queue for a bit longer. Because I want to. It's a bit like the queue for Everest. You want to have time to look at all the stuff. One day I'll regret saying that, and I'll have been in the queue for 2 hours, and I'll be like, I'm done. But at the moment, because it's new, I'd quite like to spend a bit longer in the queue seeing all the stuff. It's good attraction, good choice. John, what's your top attraction?
Oh, I'm going to go with tried and tested, because actually, as much as I would love to see it toppled as the greatest attraction, I still have this re-rideability of Tower of Terror, and irrespective of how many times I've ever been on Tower of Terror, one, it always still makes me laugh. Two, I still take great delight in riding it with either a family or certainly young children. There was a child on there this year who it was her first time, and it was very reminiscent of you'll be okay, don't worry, it's not a problem. And then when the first lift went, it was just like she was screaming so loud, and it was just an absolute delight in itself. But it never fails. It just it doesn't matter how long you have to queue up for it, even if you get a walk onto it. It just hits the spot time and time again, and I just feel that it needs to be in our top 5 purely for that reason. I could choose a umpteen different parts of Epic, but having been only one day, I'm going for Tower of Terror just for re-rideability, and I just feel that it, and also, and I've not, I might need to have this for one of our Wednesday shows. I actually got a T-shirt, and I'm not a Great Stitch fan at all. However, it just says "out of order" on the front of it, and some days I feel as if I'm out of order. But I saw it last year, and I took a picture, and then we never went back to the studios. And it's always one of them things that nags away at you. You think, "Oh, I really wish." And so we went back, and usually the merch kind of changes over a year and things like that. And we went back and I saw it, and I just thought, the very first time we went in, I thought, I've got to have that. It's the only item of merch that I came away last year thinking I wish I'd bought. And so that was the first purchase of the whole trip.
Excellent. So I'm going to go with a classic attraction as well. I really thought about this for a little while earlier, and I was thinking, do I go with something from Epic? And I think Battle at Ministry is an excellent choice. But actually, based on the 3 experiences I had of this attraction while we were away, it's still right up there for me. And I'm going to go Kilimanjaro Safaris.
Yeah.
We had 3 outstanding safari experiences. 3 different skippers, 3 different sets of information. Yep. And I maintain that every single time I ride this attraction, and I've ridden it, probably over 100 times, I always learn something new. And my
Yeah.
favourite fact from this trip was that hippos are really good at swimming and they can actually run very fast. So the only chance of beating them in a triathlon is the bike. And that is what one of our drivers said. And it still makes me chuckle now. It was really funny because there was slightly deathly silence on the bus, and everyone was like, "What?" I was like, "I just thought it was brilliant."
Can I add to that, Claire, as well? Because actually, I concur with what you're trying to say there. Because actually, in the past, we've kind of, we're going to do safari, and then you come away and you think, oh, it's all right. But I don't know whether it's just because it was just two of us. I don't think it was. It was actually the re-rideability of the safari this year,
Every time.
and the quality of some of the animal interactions. I don't know whether or not they've been maybe specially training the animals to be a little bit more on point for photographs or whatever.
Could you just
got to
stand still
see-
for a little bit longer?
Yeah, but you got to see so
Yeah.
much more. It didn't feel as if the drivers were trying to sort of go
Scoot
round at a
round.
rate of knots.
Yeah.
We did have a driver who clipped the bridge, and I've never experienced this before.
Oh.
And the very first bridge, and she just clipped the wheel arch on the right hand side, and obviously because you're sat on the left, it's quite an easy. It's not. It's quite an easy thing to do, but she had to radio it in.
Yep.
So she stopped after the bridge, radioed it in, and when you're on safari and you're thinking this must happen all the time.
Yeah.
But they then had to send somebody to go and inspect the bridge before the next truck
went,
can go across. So all that health and safety bit came in.
Yeah.
And and by the time we got to the end of safari, we were feeling really sorry for because you probably know that she's going to get some sort of mark against her name for actually causing so much grief and this and that. And she tried to keep going on the commentary so much, but you could actually tell.
It affected
You
her.
could sense it was one of them in her back of her mind. She knows I'm going to get into trouble for this.
And it just
as we
ruined the
got
flow
off-
for the rest of.
It did a
You could
little bit, but as we got off, I just turned. I turned to catch her eye in the mirror and just went. I put my hand on my heart and I know exactly how she felt. And I just felt so sorry for her.
It blows my mind when I think about the cast members that do that attraction. So, but most attractions, they go and they learn how to manage the machines, and make things guests get through, safely process guests through the attraction, and then everything. These a lot of them are college program, and we actually had one of our drivers was being assessed while we were on the attraction. So one of the coordinators was sat in the back row watching her and taking notes. And that was a traumatic safari because about a quarter of the way around it started to bucket down with rain, properly raining. So you're then contending with the noise on the roof of the thing. This is not waterproof, people. Can I just say? Every corner she went round, or the truck swung, the water was sloshing off the roof onto guests and stuff. So she was trying to give all these facts, and so she did brilliantly. But these cast members, they have 4 weeks to learn to drive those trucks, number one, safely with all the guests in, drive around the safari and learn all those safari facts that they have to give out about all the different animals. And they get assessed, and if they don't pass all of those elements, then they get shipped off to a different attraction. And you just think, while the other cast members are out going down Wendy's or Biology or whatever, they're at home revising about, what's a painted dog and where does it live. I love the safari so much, and we had just such exemplar experiences on that. We saw lions roaring and doing things, and we saw cheetahs running around, and it was
That's
quite.
I was
unusual.
surprised to see. Yeah, I saw cheetahs. We saw cheetah on our one. I was like, oh wow, this
The
doesn't
rainy
we've not-
safari was great. We saw so many amazing close-up animal interactions. Maybe a little closer than we'd like ostriches. But I just think it was great. I mean, I could have picked a number of attractions, but for me, that particularly this summer,
I think that's a really.
it was
good
really
call.
good.
That's,
Really good.
I like that.
Yeah.
Go on, quick honourable mentions for anything else.
Jungle Cruise.
I was just thinking the same.
We had a great Jungle Cruise.
She was brilliant.
It was really funny.
That was so
Um,
good. Hearing
Yeah.
Small World on Jungle Cruise was brilliant.
He was so good. He got what did he get Millie? I'm trying to remember what he got Millie to do at one point. I can't remember. Steer or something. Can't
Yeah.
remember.
He got her to hold the radio.
Oh yeah. Why
Yeah.
are you on the radio?
Radio.
Why are you whistling? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So good.
Yeah, we had a great Jungle Cruise is always fun.
Yeah.
I want to say Mario Kart. I really enjoyed it. I know that for some people it wasn't great, but I think it has massive rewritability. I think the queue line's fun when you go through Bowser's Castle. The books in the library are hysterical. Do take
Yes.
time to read them. I just think that is an attraction that I came off and I immediately wanted to go on again. So
Yeah.
I would happily do that 10 times in a row just to see all the set pieces, but also do the interacts and action
Yeah.
stuff and try and get a better score than
Yeah.
everyone.
I'll add VelociCoaster onto that just because
I
I
was
did it
that
3
was
times in one
exactly what I
morning.
was going to say, Ben,
It's-
because actually I
Yeah.
had my first ride on VelociCoaster this year,
Mm.
and it didn't disappoint. Same as Hagrid's as well.
Oh
First
yeah,
time,
I forgot how
first time on that, and
I
again,
love
just
that.
just again, it's that balancing act between
Mm.
acknowledging that there's new rides in parks, but also protecting yourself, so you don't have any
Yeah.
idea of what's going to happen. And we've done a really good job between us to try and not
Ruin.
spoil that.
Yeah.
To the extent that even some shows that we did a few years ago, when those rides first opened, I blocked them out of my mind. And so certainly Hagrid's, when I experienced that for the first time, it was absolutely stunning. And it was just like, when you're just taken by surprise by certain
Yeah.
elements, and I will
Yeah.
not tell,
Yeah.
I'm not going to give any information away.
I had the same experience on Hagrid's.
It was just brilliant.
Yeah.
It really was.
It's the first time I'd got to do it, and I'd not seen. I deliberately never watched a POV or any sort of ride through it, so I didn't know what was going to happen, and it was amazing.
And it's still got the rewritability 6
Yeah.
years on.
It's a great attraction.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else we want to mention quickly? Living with the land. We still love you.
Can I just go back to Jungle Cruise as well? Whilst you were mentioning that, I had a really, really funny experience there, because we were in quite a long queue, and the queue line was much longer than it was advertised, because there'd been a code whatever, and the sick bucket was being
Used.
dispersed,
Okay.
etc. So we were up and down, and kept as far away as possible. So I was on Twitter, and I just became aware. Somebody posted on Twitter, and they were celebrating their 1 year as a skipper on the Jungle Cruise, and then lo and behold, Gracie was on the loading dock, and so in only a style at which my wife gets very, very frustrated, I went up and introduced myself, because actually I thought it'd be
Did you give her a
very
Post-it?
impolite. She got a beer mat. She got a follow on Twitter. She followed me straight back,
Amazing.
which
Oh,
was good.
lovely.
We had the most lovely conversation, and it was just one of those moments where you share the fact that you do a podcast, and she's like, "Oh my word, you do a podcast?" And I said, "Yeah, it's hard to believe, isn't it? Really, you know." And but you managed to incorporate, like, it's like in 30 seconds you download so much information of each other. I'd picked up stuff about her on Twitter, so I was able to say, "Oh, congratulations on being here for a year," because that's quite a big thing for a cast member, and it really is something that, it becomes your heart and soul, and something, especially something like the Jungle Cruise, it must become one of those things that the same joke, time after time after time, must really kind of rankle after a year. So we had a nice chat. It was good. Enjoyed that. But yeah, I could have umpteen different special mentions, because actually I just felt there was so many.
There were so many
brilliant
attractions that we did first time with family, and just seeing Rise of the Resistance through someone who's more of a Star Wars fan than I am was amazing. It was incredible, and it was a good opportunity to go with
I've
family.
never seen him smile so much.
Oh, that's lovely. That.
Cool. Right.
Yeah.
Those are our top. What are our bottom? What did not live up to your expectations?
Mm.
Who's going
Can
first?
I'll start. I'll
Okay.
start because I'm going to be right out there from the off. Rivers of America being shut, spoiled Magic Kingdom completely. And
Yeah.
actually, it's more than just the ride. The lack of the sound of
Yeah.
the boat,
Yeah.
the lack of the space, the lack of even when we first arrived, they'd basically blocked off the queue line for Haunted Mansion, so you couldn't have a good neb over the
Yeah.
fence and see what was going on. But unfortunately, it made that queue line for Haunted Mansion like being in a sauna. So
Yeah.
by the second time we went to Magic Kingdom, they'd actually put like 4 industrial fans into the queue line to try and move the air, which really helped massively. But Magic Kingdom was it was like a place without soul.
Yeah.
When it didn't have it, and I know that's probably, I have to think of the long term, but in its current state, I know we talk about re-rideability in the top attractions, but actually Magic Kingdom doesn't have that revisitability in its current form. There's so much that's shut. Big
Yeah.
Thunder's still not open.
It's really weird when you're in that area and you don't hear screams from Big Thunder Mountain, and you don't
Yeah.
hear
Or the noise of the
train.
track.
Yeah.
Everything's missing, and I don't know. I know we try to be positive, but actually, in a way, it broke my heart when I saw the
It's so
state of it
noticeable.
in its current state. And I don't know. Maybe it's wrong to say that because things have to change, but I just feel that for me was such it was the lowest probably moment of the whole day, and as a result, when we came away, we actually looked at how few visits we actually made to Magic Kingdom, which is unusual because normally, and that maybe is because it's 2 adults that go with you who quite enjoy going to EPCOT for a beer. But the other side to that is the fact that normally Magic Kingdom would be that experience that you would go and would
draw
be
you in.
the highlight of the whole day, and
Yeah.
it wasn't this time. It was a shame.
I know this might shock some people listening, but I'm going to put a test track on it.
Oh, you stole mine.
Yeah.
And mine.
Hey, tell you what,
I
that's been
just-
controversial. There we go.
Do you know what? I was so hopeful.
Lazy,
Seeing concept art, seeing everything. They spent the entire budget in the final room, and the outside's the same. They, to be honest, I don't think they needed to spend. It didn't need to be as close for as long as it was to do that sort of refurb. It was like it didn't have any thought in what it is. And in the same part, when you have Guardians of the Galaxy just next door, they're clearly not the same Imagineers that worked on that one. And I don't, to be honest, I might have just left it in its previous incarnation because it was so much more fun to be able to customize and design your own car. And then you've got a competition element in there where now that's all taken out. It felt just like it was just a showroom.
Yeah.
You had the bit at the beginning, which I thought was quite good the first time we walked through and just went through and go, oh, this is interesting from sort of my point of view.
From
But-
a car techie point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then once you've done the ride and then you go in afterwards and it's like, oh, the showroom's still here. There's new cars and all of that. But it's like, I don't feel like that's what it's supposed to be. And it doesn't feel like, and Epcot's done some really incredible things over the past few years.
That's
from
not one of
like, no,
No.
it's not.
It's
From
not one of them.
Moana, the experience
Yeah,
there.
that was great.
And what feels like more like Epcot. This to me just didn't feel right. Just didn't sit right with me.
I can't see how they're going to leave it like that, but I think they have to. Becca.
I'm gonna say because you stole mine, so I'm gonna say Fire Drill over at Epic Universe. That's the shooty water ride in Isle of Berg.
Oh, that does
Yeah.
not sound like my kind of attraction.
Oh, I loved
No.
You
it.
know what? The ride itself isn't too bad. It's not worth the 60-odd minute wait that we went in there.
Okay.
The queue is really dull. It's
Okay.
just switchbacks.
Mhm.
You know, if it was a 10-15 minute queue, I might go on it.
If it's
Or
really
a walk
hot,
on like Popeye and
Or a
Pluto.
walk on. Yeah.
Yeah.
you do get wet.
You
But
get wet, and that part of it's fun. it is probably is also one of those rides that is more fun when you're with a big group.
Mhm.
I can imagine if it's just us two, it probably wouldn't be as fun.
I'd much rather go back on Hiccup's wing
Yeah.
gliders than I would
Okay.
go on the fire drill.
So I said fire drill.
Okay. For me,
Go on,
I'm.
Claire.
There's a couple of things that didn't live up or disappoint, but I think the one that I felt was probably most tired, and I'm sad to say this, but it still made me laugh. But I found Simpsons ride at Universal Studios
Mm,
just felt
yeah.
done. The humour, I get it. Simpsons are classic. They've been around a very long time. Some of the humour I found uncomfortable. And I think that that is Simpsons, but the older Simpsons humour maybe is a little on the edge now based
It's
on...
just not changed. It's not moved forward. It's
Yeah.
not.
And actually I found the in-ride experience to just be a little bit
Mhm.
not in line with the rest of the attractions we also did things like the Bourne experience, which is incredible.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've done that. And like you put that next to Simpsons, and I get it,
Yeah.
it's an old attraction. It just took over, it was a reboot of what was there. But I'd rather see it go back to the Future. I think that would be
I'd agree
more
with that, Claire. I would
acceptable,
also add
Yeah.
that we had
especially
a
with the
really good
anniversary.
we had a really good mid-month show earlier in this year, and I can't remember who the guest was, but we were talking exactly about not just The Simpsons,
Mm,
but also that original Universal Park,
mm,
of how they could realign and become a
Yeah.
retro park,
right.
go back to the
Yeah.
original ride there, put Jaws back
I
into
think they're
the
missing a trick.
park.
Yeah, it's an anniversary of Back to the Future this year. They
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
have they could have thought about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did ET because I always do ET just in case it's the last time I'm going to ride it. It's never the
Yeah.
last time. I don't know when they're ever going to close
I
ET.
don't think they're ever going to get rid of it. I
I mean,
think
It's
don't think they could.
crazy
I actually don't think
psychedelic,
they could.
but
I'd
it's-
much rather them get rid of Fast and Furious because that just needs to burn. But
Yeah, but if you put The Simpsons up against ET, right, and the age of both
Mhm.
are similarly long term,
Yeah.
the rewrite again. We come back to this bit about rewritability, but actually, ET is so heartwarming and so, and it's just like life enriching.
Yeah.
And when you come off, you're like, do you know,
That was weird, but it was
just-
brilliant.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't done ET since 2013.
It hasn't changed, Becca.
It's the
They've redone
same.
they've redone the
I
floor
didn't like
inside
it then.
the queue
I'm probably
line.
not gonna
Oh,
like
it's
it now.
brilliant.
I
they've
think the
updated
ride
sign
vehicles,
outside,
the
but
ride vehicle is one of the most comfortable to sit on.
Yeah.
I think those bikes are
Yeah.
brilliant. But
we
Yeah.
should go back on it.
it's
In January, we'll go back
do
on it.
it, yeah. And
Oh,
obviously,
you
Felt like
need
I was
to.
going to fall off the ride vehicle when I was
I
on
w-
it.
If going back as well to The Simpsons, and I think we're onto something here, because actually there's a massive amount of land within Universal that they can make use of. That whole part of it has become nobody
just
goes
feels
there.
tired.
Yeah, nobody
Yeah.
goes there.
Yeah.
It's
It's like the Dino Land of
Yeah.
Universal to me.
Yeah, it is a bit.
But
Yeah,
what's really weird is it's not that old.
no.
They only completed that section
10
in
years
about
ago?
2015.
No, it's
oh,
older
it must
than
be
that.
oh,
No,
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 it's not.
we were there in 2014 and they were still building it, parts of it. The ride was there.
But Moe's
but-
Tavern
but-
and all of
but
that.
Moe's
bit.
yeah, all of
Tavern.
that was still under
Construction.
construction. But the thing is now it's owned by Disney, The Simpsons. So there's going to be eventually a licensing.
Well,
So maybe
go
they're
back
going to
to
pay
Back to the
Universal
Future.
to keep it.
Or maybe they'll do
Yeah.
a deal and say, you can have the Simpsons if we can have the Marvel.
I'll be
I-
honest
I-
with you. I
I-
think there's bits of Universal Studios in general that just feel
Out of place.
just clunky, and like
And-
the Marvel area it's got Spider-Man's still such a brilliant ride, and we also did Stormforce, the
Yeah.
accelerate, like the spinny thing, and
Yeah.
we nearly threw up. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Lily and I did it
Yeah.
twice in a row, and we were I thought she was going to go flying out of the car at one point. We actually had to stop spinning it because we were both about to vomit, and that for me
Oh,
is a sign
wow.
of a good ride. So then we did it again. But some of the attractions are great, but just
Yeah.
the whole concrete and the whole facades and even Toon Lagoon and stuff, it doesn't feel like anyone's touched it in a long time. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know
'cause it's that
And-
opened.
And also the Lost Continent. whichever
Yeah,
one
the
is
lost
still,
theme
which
park.
has now been confirmed by
It has been
Universal
shut though,
that
hasn't it?
it's
They
been
are
closed
demolishing
and
it.
it's going to be demolished.
And that
The
bit
whole
where they
area.
used to have the motorbike thing on the right-hand side as you walk through, and that, you know, they had to shut it because somebody died, and yeah, all of that area.
Yes.
I just feel it's kind of a bit like lost and forgotten, and let's not talk about it. It's like the big elephant in the room.
I feel like it's because, and especially it's highlighted now, because when you go to their new theme park of Epic Universe,
Right.
you can see what that creative team can do. So
Exactly.
in a way, I'm so excited now to see what Universal do. And I know
I'd
that
love-
while we're there,
yeah.
they're tearing down Rip Ride Rocket.
I
which
saw it
all the
coming down. We were there the day before, and then the day after, it was like,
Yeah.
in come the cranes.
Yeah, yeah. all the rumours and a lot of the buildings is all leading to Ghostbusters. So
Okay.
maybe they are going back to retro.
And again, yeah,
That would make
That would
a
also fit
brilliant-
in with
the
that New
area.
York
it
theme.
kind of makes sense. And I think as well, and I think this is something that I won't ever take credit for, because if Alison listens to the podcast, it was her one gripe previously about Universal, and we've not been to Universal for a long time, and it was only on the fact that I wanted to go to Epic. We ended up with a 4-day ticket, and then we went into the other parks. She dislikes both the other parks. She's not a great roller coaster fan. I love the coasters, so my idea is just going to Universal and just going on Hulk again and again and again. That wouldn't bother me, but for her, I think, like you said, Claire, that sort of concrete, just sort of mismatch, it grates on the eyes.
Yeah.
Because it kind of doesn't gel.
It feels like
Because it
Fort
just seems-
Park or Chessington or
Yes, it's got that
You know.
feel. And like you just said, Ben, when you compare what's further up
could
the
be done.
road or
Yeah.
down the road
Yeah.
at Epic, you've then got a theme park which the organisation of which is, I think, is second to none, and the theming of which is second to none. And I think Universal have got, I think they've got a real thing to do with this. And I actually think they're on it.
They either need to shut down each part section by section and redo them.
Yeah.
Or they need to shut down the whole park for a year and tear it down.
I
Start
think it'll
up.
be section by section.
And I
Yeah,
hope
I
that they
think-
do.
Yeah, I do.
I think now they've got Epic open and it's dragging people across. Hopefully they will. But I just, the Simpsons attraction, particularly for me, and I went on it with Millie. Dan doesn't do it because it makes him feel sick.
Yeah.
But some of the humour I felt was, and not on the edge of being inappropriate in terms of risque innuendo, because that doesn't bother me. In terms of, it's not an appropriate joke to make anymore. It might have been 20 years ago, but now it's for my child, that's not the kind of humour I want her to experience. And so I just think perhaps it's lost its shine slightly.
Yeah.
Just my personal view.
No, good call.
No,
that.
no, it's
I
good.
like it.
Okay, let's move on from attractions. We're going to talk food. So, top 5 restaurants.
Ooh.
One each.
Ooh.
Becca, you can go first.
Oh, crumbs. I'm trying to remember where I ate now. Where did we eat that was really good?
I'm not telling you because you're
Not
still
one called-
mine.
Spoiler alert.
No, that'll be the bottom. Ellen Compass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we
Did
had
you
breakfast
lunch
at
or
Ellen.
breakfast and
We breakfasted at Ellen Compass. Breakfasted?
Yeah.
Not a word. Tiffany, the server, was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
The food was really good.
I'm singing Tiffany in my
So-
head at the moment.
Yeah. And Ellen Compass is one of those restaurants where it's either really good or really bad. There's no in between.
Yeah. This was a good day.
Yeah.
This was a good day.
Also, I think what helped is with Island Compass breakfast that you have the option to go for an entree, but also there's the option for the buffet. This time we just went for the entrees, so we didn't have the buffet.
Yeah.
And that,
It was just enough food.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good tasting food.
I
Hot food.
won't say that what really helped me with it was that we got 40% DVC discount.
Always
Yeah, it was
helps.
very cheap as well.
It was really worth
Yeah,
it.
that's good. Okay, Ben, what's yours?
You stole mine of Island Compass.
Sorry.
But I'm going to say, I'm going to go, I'm not far off from there, Trattoria al Forno for breakfast. We went
Don't
there.
tell people it's really good.
I know. We went a couple of years ago over Christmas, and I had my heart set on what I was going to have then. But the day before they changed the menu. There was an update to the menu, so I was like, "Oh, what I was looking forward to." So I wasn't as impressed then, but this time blown away by it. Had the omelette. It was perfect.
Oh,
It was incredible food, great service, and yeah, started off a good day to go to Hollywood Studios. So it's sort of, um,
yeah. We we had breakfast there on our last morning actually because we moved out of our villa. We had to be out by 10, so I booked a breakfast at Trattoria for like 10:45. So moved out the villa, drove to Boardwalk. We needed to leave for the airport by 1 anyway, so had breakfast and then into EPCOT for an hour, and then went to the airport from there. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
So, John,
This is a tricky one. I'm not a great. I'm no longer a bit of a foodie, and actually,
I know.
we actually found different places off-site than we would have done previously. The one that stands out, and this is sort of, well, apart from IHOP, because actually I know it has its doubters and things like that, but throughout which we actually had some really good, quick in, fed and go experiences there at a very reasonable price. I would actually say Olive Garden, and again, we haven't been there for a few years until last year, and we went in a couple of times this time, and then we came out with more food than we actually had managed to eat, which is always a good thing, because actually you head back to your villa and you're suddenly realizing that you've got basically. In fact, we made, I think, 3 days worth of food input out of one trip to Olive Garden. So it kind of worked, but I'm not the best one to actually ask on that, for many a reason. And we didn't really eat a lot on site either, and that again comes back to cost, and previously we would have chosen somewhere to go on site and actually have a nice meal, but actually even with the two of us, we couldn't see the value in that when there's other options off-site that are actually a lot more reasonable.
Yeah. For me, I think if someone was to say, which of your restaurants that you went to while you were there would you go back to? If we were going out for dinner tonight, where would you go? And I'm going to go Sebastian's Bistro over at Caribbean Beach.
oh, really?
Really good. And the more I think about it, the more I think, no, that food was excellent. And really good value. Really good value. I mean, I know it's in a resort and it's not always easy to get to, but you can get the Skyliner there from parks. And yeah, I just think the amount of food that you get, and it is, eat as much as you care to enjoy. I just think it's a great meal, and all the good stuff we heard before we went, I would absolutely agree with. And I think as someone who ate the plant-based platter, I think it was excellent. Crab cake was a bit weird, but the rest of the food was excellent. And like all the sides are vegetarian, and they can be made vegan friendly if you want. And I would totally recommend it. It's worth the effort.
So for someone who doesn't eat seafood,
Yeah,
would
so
you
it's a
say
meat-based platter. So there's
Okay.
actually weirdly it isn't actually fishy. So there is on the non-vegetarian platter, there's chicken, which is like a jerk chicken. There are some ribs, there's some brisket, there's a couple of pieces, there's some steak, and then there is like one piece of fish. So there is, depending on how many people there are at the table, there was, I think, for the platter for 3 people that they had 2 pieces of tilapia on it.
Okay.
And they're only really small fillets. So the majority, 80% of the platter is meat-based. It's not fish. So
Might have to give this a go.
I have to, yeah.
the sides were incredible. The salad was amazing. The bread was, and the service was excellent. And the view, if you get a nice, it's not a particularly big restaurant. You can see the big windows and you can watch the fireworks, watch the sunset. It's actually quite nice. So I think it's a bit of a hidden gem. Don't all go booking it.
No.
No,
Then
I
all of a
think
sudden-
that's exactly it, Claire. But if someone is listening to this and you're planning somewhere else, somewhere different to go
Yeah.
to, that appears to be a spot that a lot of people are talking about, and a lot of people have got nothing but good
Mhm.
reviews of. And again, I think more people that we've met on holiday and stuff.
Yeah.
We don't go to these places, but we do talk about food places.
Yeah.
that seems to be the top
Yeah.
of most people's lists at the moment.
I think at $39 a head plus tax for
Yeah.
That's good.
full eat as much as you can food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And drinks were good too. We had a couple of cocktails, so very nice.
No, but
Any honourable mentions people want to throw out
Kona Cafe
for breakfast?
breakfast.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Tajina Canteen,
Mm.
Ah.
both breakfast and lunch.
Yeah, breakfast
I
surprises actually.
can't get on with Satuli. I don't.
Yeah. No, it was
Breakfast was really nice. We had the kids' French toast.
Okay.
and the portions were big enough for us to have in the morning.
Yeah, we
it
had
was
kids' meals a few times actually.
yeah. We went to Connections and
Oh,
had
the kids'
pizza.
meal. The pizza meal.
But
There
it was
is
the pizza there. It was like
It's like
yeah, kids' meal.
$7.69, and it's more food than you can eat.
I was gonna say we spent $15 on that
Between you.
food. Between
Between us.
and it was like
Yeah.
pizzas, fries, and
Yeah,
sides
and
and
drink.
It was like really,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm going to say just because both places had really good service and good food. Summer House, we sat at the bar and ate some. We had a pizza. We had the cheese pop, the turnover thingies, and the sprouts, which are amazing. And also Boathouse. We had an incredible meal there.
Yeah.
But they're kind of old hat now. Everyone go, Boathouse,
everyone
whatever.
knows it's
amazing.
expect.
It's always amazing, and I don't think I've ever had a bad meal there. So, continues to be amazing. I think probably.
Yeah.
What about bottom 5 restaurants? Places that disappointed. Should we do the team one?
Let's do
I
the
Yeah,
team let's
let's do
one.
the team
I
one.
think,
We
I
can all
don't know.
contribute.
Is it maybe?
We'll
Is
all
it
say the same
maybe?
thing.
Is it maybe worth putting a little bit of a spoiler in this? Is actually we could get a whole mid-month show
I think we
We
could do a whole
could.
show on
out
this,
of
but
what we're about to talk about.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
go on.
Chef de France. Oh, how disappointed we were.
I wish we'd stayed at the Rose and Crown.
Do you know, it was so we all agreed we would go there, and there
We
was
were all
very
hopeful.
yeah, we
Yeah.
were all really hopeful. We were excited. We'd all met up, and there was the 7 of us, and Jason came with us as well. We'd been to the Rose and Crown and met up with Matt and Crystal,
Yeah.
and Crystal's parents who were
Right.
there, and
Yeah.
kids. So we'd had such a lovely time in the pub, and then we were right, let's go to Chef de France. We got there and seated straight away, not a problem. And our lovely French server Stan, who was absolutely in character at the beginning as the surly French,
Eminem moment
Yes.
incoming. Yeah.
surly French waiter,
Yeah.
who he really wasn't up for any chit chat. So he gave his recommendations for the menu, and people chose what they wanted.
Yep.
And a few of us went for the prefix menu. I think it was $69, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then a few people chose just to have a main course. And the starters came mostly.
Yes.
So
Except Ben's.
Yes.
Ben's starter did not arrive.
Mine turned up with everyone else. Well, what was interesting was that as he was taking everyone's order, he wasn't writing any of
No,
them
didn't
down.
write anything down. No,
So
didn't
I
have
was
a
like, okay, he's
touch
gonna,
screen, nothing.
yeah, perfect. He knew what he was doing. He good memory, but
Oh,
clearly, clearly I wasn't gonna get a starter. But when they realised that, oh, we've forgotten to do your French onion soup, I then got a bigger portion of French onion soup.
You got a
than everyone,
massive
It
portion of
was
French
huge.
onion
Yeah,
soup.
it's just
As
And
everyone
literally-
had finished theirs.
yes,
and
and-
to be honest, the French onion soup was actually
It was the
quite
best part
su-
of the meal
it
was
was
the French
amazing.
onion
It was
soup.
quite
It was
superb.
The French
I've
onion
got to
soup was
say.
outstanding. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
really good. I would,
Yeah.
if they just did that in the quick service,
oh,
that'd
yeah.
be perfect. Yeah, they
Yeah.
could just have
Yeah.
a stand with
Yep.
wine and French onion soup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be better than
Yeah,
anything
it
else.
was-
yes.
And then Ben was still eating his cauldron of French onion soup, and the entrees came out, including Ben's entree, and they sort of put it down. And I remember you looking, going, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, are you
It was
still
like-
eating?" And you're like,
It's like I've only
Yes.
had like 4
Just tell them.
spoonfuls of the soup.
"So they took it away."
Yeah.
At your request, you said, "No, I don't
Yep.
want it yet." They took it away, and then you finished your soup, and then they brought it back.
Yep.
The same one.
Yeah.
Cold.
15 minutes later.
Rubbery.
Yeah.
Wasn't great.
What was it?
It was chicken cordon bleu.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
and it wasn't great. Peas were everything was like the mash and the peas were mixed together. It looked nice, but definitely wouldn't have it again,
No.
and especially not at that temperature.
Had it
I
been sat
don't
under a heat lamp?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think the chicken cordon bleu was that great anyway, because Dan had it as well, and he only had about a quarter of it.
And he said it wasn't great.
Mm.
So even if it was warmed,
So then
Uh,
there was a saga of Millie's steak. So Millie had chosen the New York strip, cooked rare, and yes, we made very sure that the rare. The first one came out and it's decidedly grey, very much medium, and so we said, "This is not cooked properly." Oh, okay, we wanted it rare. You want it rare? Yes, really, yeah, rare,
Really rare.
Yeah.
properly
Still
rare.
milling, please.
Okay, so they took it away and they brought another one 5-10 minutes later, and this steak that they brought was rare, but it was such an appalling cut of meat that she actually couldn't cut through it. It was just riddled with gristle and fat, and
It was basically a gristle strip
steak. It was
Yeah.
awful.
with a sliver of meat on both sides.
And
It
you know, sometimes you are going to get the odd steak in the pack that
Yeah.
the chef is cooking that is
Yeah.
not the best quality, but at
it
the
kind
price
of
that you're paying,
it kind of smacked of the
Yeah.
fact, how dare you send the first one back? I tell you what,
you can have this one that's been in the
have
back of the
this,
fridge.
have this, and
Yeah.
we'll see what you say about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind the steak was like $58, I think.
yeah,
It wasn't cheap. We weren't in
Yeah.
Longhorn. This was a Disney restaurant, and you were paying for the pleasure of being there. So actually, I said to Stan, he said, "How is it?" And I said, "Actually, she can't even cut through it." At which point he went, "I'm going to get my manager for you," which was the best thing he
Yeah.
could have done, actually,
It
because
was
I was
actually, yeah.
not happy about it.
yeah,
And so the manager came over, and I said, "Look, this is the second steak. We can't even cut through it. She's tried, I've tried, can't cut through it. The first one was cooked poorly. This one's not edible." Manager took it away, and then he came back and said, "Look, I'm just making sure the kitchen's doing you another steak. They're going to take any fat off it. It's going to be cooked. How do you want it cooked?" And I'm just like, "Rare, as senor, properly French rare will
Yeah.
do
It was
perfectly."
it was like a Faulty Towers moment, though,
was.
wasn't it? It was just like,
The
yeah,
Waldorf
this is like-
salad is coming
yeah,
back again.
that is exactly the way it made
Oh
you feel.
my goodness, it was
Yeah.
such hard work. The
Yeah.
third steak did come out, and it was cooked fine, and the steak
Yeah.
was. But by this point, everyone had finished eating, so Mills was sitting there chomping away. But
Yeah.
everyone had
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
Ben and his cold chicken cordon bleu had finished,
Ben had given up by
I'd
that
have
point. Yeah.
dessert.
and so
Yeah.
it was painful. We sort of ate in shifts across the table.
Yeah.
The wine
It's like
was
we all
nice.
turned up at the wrong time. If we turned up at like
time,
15
yeah.
minutes,
It's like
It
the
was-
Les
it was
Dawson
bizarre.
version of a meal. All the right dishes, just not necessarily in the right
Yeah.
order.
yeah,
So yeah, it's just poor, actually. To be fair, they took your meal off the bill, didn't they, Ben?
Yeah.
They also took Millie's steak off the bill, which is the right thing to do. And
Yeah.
we still tipped appropriately for the cost of
Yeah.
the meal, because it wasn't his fault. He was, Stan was doing his best in his French way. But
It's just
I think
yeah.
he was probably glad to see us go. I think that was.
I actually felt that as we were leaving. I
Yeah.
felt like they couldn't wait for us
It
to
was
leave,
like,
which is
Yeah.
phew.
again
Yeah.
absolutely on point with the theming. But
I've got a feeling the next time we try and book it on the app, I wonder
be
whether
like,
it's say
"No."
denied.
no
It's like,
space. There is no
No.
room at the
I-
inn.
Don't think there's going to be a next time anytime
No,
soon.
no.
I just, it was.
I was disappointed because actually
You've even had
so-
great meals there.
we have,
Yeah.
and actually I've got no complaints about the food that we actually had.
Yeah.
It was absolutely, it was spot on. It was exactly what we'd ordered.
Yeah.
It came at exactly the right time. But when you're actually sharing it as a whole table,
Mm.
and you become aware that as a team, we've always looked out for each other. And
Yeah.
actually, as we were sat there, you're just thinking, "Hang on a minute, is someone going to come in and just say they've been filming this? Is Zach
Yeah.
Brown going to come in
Right.
and say, 'Oh, I've been filming you to see how British you would be,' and things
Yeah,
like
how
that?"
polite you would be.
Yeah.
I was getting to
Yeah,
the point
and-
of not being polite.
No, it
Yeah.
wasn't. It was one of them nights. It just went beyond that, and it was
Yeah.
it was a shame because actually,
Yeah.
I still think that
I'm sure that there is a good experience in there for some people. Maybe a table of 8 people who all wanted different things was more than the restaurant could manage that evening. I don't know what it was. It just didn't work.
It just didn't
Maybe
work
if-
for us. It was just an
Maybe
off
if you
night.
wrote it down. If you wrote it down, that might help.
It would have
That
helped.
was,
But if it had
it's
been
a
perfect, we'd have
simple
had
thing.
nothing to talk about.
That is true.
Yeah, exactly.
Where else disappointed you this year? Anywhere else that you
Steakhouse
went?
71.
Oh yeah, I remember you
Oh,
went and you
wow.
were like, "This is
Yeah.
not great."
It was on my
We
birthday
didn't
as
go
well.
because you said that.
Yes,
And we were
it
thinking we
was
might
on
go,
my
and then you were like,
birthday.
"Mm-mm."
We booked in a special meal, going to try go for dinner for a change instead of lunch. That was the wrong move. Really should
Oh,
have gone there for lunch and
okay.
had the burger. But it just,
Service
server
was
was,
mediocre.
yeah, he wasn't interested.
Food was also
Oh,
mediocre.
Any
that's not good.
questions or we asked about the menu and things, he just was disinterested.
The onion rings couldn't even save it.
No,
Oh, it's
dear.
a
it
shame.
just wasn't. Went for the
Steak was okay. Sides were bland.
went for the Caesar
Mm.
salad on
Mhm.
Robin's recommendation.
great.
Thought it looked
Mm.
good. It wasn't
No.
great. It
That's
was the croutons weren't. Everything about it was just off.
No
Just
dear.
felt like
A bad day.
That's a shame.
yeah.
Okay.
Try lunch again next time.
No,
Can I chuck one into the mix? Because actually,
Mm.
I've been a long-standing advocate of this place, probably since the day we started doing this podcast. And Miller's Ale House, which exists in varying formats. It's either Miller's or it's Orlando Ale House,
Yeah,
etc. And previously, we've always had exceptional food, exceptional service, and we actually went in twice on this trip, and on neither occasion did we choose to eat,
Wow.
which is quite something when you're trying to cross the 192 to go, because we've got an Uber and we're just like, I just don't. What they've done, and actually we had a little bit of a heads up about this about a year ago. The company had been bought out, and they're basically another company were then running it, but they kept the name. There was a new menu. There's a new menu. It's massively pared down from what it used to be. The food as it came out, as we were sat there, and we were just thinking, we'll go for a drink and we just have a little watch, and the food didn't have that wow factor which it previously did. It was actually quite quiet in there, and so it gave me that feeling that hang on, and locals are a really good sign. Usually, that in the past that's been queued out the door. You could walk in and you could get your choice of table, no matter what. It wasn't just about tourists; it was exceptionally quiet, which always sets me apart as well. It doesn't matter if you're in the UK or the US. If the locals aren't going there, there's definitely an issue. So we went out and we went somewhere else, and we thought, no, maybe it's just us. Maybe we were just in one of those moods where they weren't serving what we were fancying. Let's give it another go. He said, using it as an excuse to go for a pint before we went to go for someone to eat somewhere else. However, we had the same experience. You look at the menu and you're just like, nah, it just doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have that. They've taken so much off and so many little favourites, and you're just thinking, no, everything seems to be deep fried, really quick. It seems to be more down sort of the Wetherspoons route of chuck in the microwave, wait for it to ping, then it'll be back out, or you put in the deep fat fryer, it'll be done in 3 minutes, chuck it on a plate, and it's done. And they seem to be the dishes that have escaped
Survived.
from the and that seems to be
That's
the
a
way that
shame.
they've set up. I'm really just disappointed, but I did need to put this on record, because actually I know for a long time we've always been great advocates of Miller's, and actually I would just probably go for a beer there now, and even at that, there's other places that you can actually go to for a beer. So yeah, bit of a shame, but time will move on. And it does happen.
And I'm going to throw in somewhere that we've always been an advocate for as well. That somewhere that, if I am up at Universal End, is somewhere that we will always go, just because the food is great. And I'm going to put Margaritaville on this list. So we went there, and admittedly, it was our first night there in the country, and so we may have been tired, but we landed early, and it wasn't a late night, so I don't think that was it. And there is something about CityWalk that doesn't float my boat, so I'm going to just throw that out there as well. This might be a personal, view of CityWalk. It's not my kind of place.
It's no Disney Springs.
It's not even that. I just find it uncomfortable. I don't particularly like the atmosphere there. That's my personal view. But we went to Margaritaville. I'd booked a table. We went there. The host, when we welcomed, was off with us because I didn't have a US cell phone. Just stand there and wait. And we waited, and like 6-7 tables got seated. And I went over and is there a problem? She went, what with what? I said, we're waiting for a table. Oh, are you? I said, yeah, you said stand there because I don't have a US cell. And she was like, oh, right. And then she sat, they sat us straight away, but we could have stood there for like an hour, I think, and she probably wouldn't have done anything about it. And we went in, and a bit like your experience, John, the place was empty, which is really unusual. This was like 8:30 on a Thursday night.
That's unusual.
And usually Margaritaville's pretty pumping, and the tables are all full, and the band and the volcano, and it's a fun atmosphere. This was like dead in the water. There was the place was like probably 40% full. The food was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It just didn't hit the mark. It wasn't anything outstanding. We didn't go, oh, that was an amazing meal.
Yeah.
And I don't always want to go, that was an amazing meal, but I do want to feel like I've had value for money, and I do want to enjoy myself. And I don't think we really enjoyed it very much. It was just transactional food, which when you're paying those sort of prices, I don't want a transactional meal. I want something that I'm going to go, that was worth paying that for.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like Rainforest Cafe and stuff like that. You know, it's a similar type of menu, and I want to feel like I've had a decent experience because the food is the food. And so, Margaritaville, for me, really disappointed. And I had a chat with Will, who's one of the barmen from Margaritaville, who also works in the lounge at Orlando International Terminal C. If anyone's in Terminal C lounge, the premium lounge, and Will is behind the bar, say hello and say, we said hello. And he said that at the moment, and for like the last 2 weeks of August, the first 2 weeks of September, Margaritaville is dead. He said he has never seen it so quiet, and so much so that he gives his shifts away now in that period because it is not worth him going into work, because he makes $20 in tips for the whole evening. It is that quiet.
Wow.
And he said it's a real issue in CityWalk and Orlando restaurants, particularly in that this year they've noticed that through August and the beginning of September. So
I pick up on that as well, Claire, because I know Ben will probably come in and mention about Longhorns in a moment. We went to Longhorns twice. The first one, we had the same issue with the US cell phone. Where we checked in, and then we found ourselves sitting there for a long time. Now, again, this might help people if you going on holiday from the UK. Just be aware of how this system works, because actually Alison had actually booked the table online, given her mobile number, but obviously by the time we got to there, we don't have the Wi-Fi. So we've sent you a text. I said, but actually we've not received. Look, here's my phone, not received the text. Oh, give us a minute. And you're just like, hang on, who's doing who a favour here?
Yeah.
And actually, you start off on the wrong foot, and it didn't get much better that first time. So we did go back a second time, and again, the second time we went, it was a much better experience. The first time we asked for a bottle of wine. I said, oh, sorry, we've run out of white wine. And we're like, hang on, this is like, and it was a Saturday night, but I'm like, it's 9:00 on a Saturday night. And
I've got more wine in my fridge in the villa than you have in the restaurant.
I'm thinking, that's just like, how does that happen? Does your manager not do the job properly? And then we decided, well, we'll just have a beer. So that saved us a lot of money, actually, because actually the beers in Longhorn are miles cheaper than the bottles of wine. So they did themselves a disservice there. One thing to bear in mind for a lot of people is if you want your steak in a proper sense, ask for it to be unseasoned, because otherwise, on both occasions we went, and the seasoning on the actual steak was way in excess of what was
very
acceptable.
peppery.
Yeah,
all I could taste was pepper.
And it was over the top. And so if you're British and you actually just want a decent steak, make sure you do ask for it unseasoned, and it will come out absolutely perfect. If you don't make a point of saying it, it comes with all the Longhorn seasoning. And I can't remember the sentence that the server uses. It's just do you want it just to come just basically as a longhorn steak. It's something like, and it's kind of hidden, and you're like you kind of caught off guard because it's
Yeah.
just put across to you very quickly. And again, that might be something that spoils people's experience of longhorn. And
Yeah, that's a good point.
it's just maybe something to bear in mind if you're coming from the UK. Just again, make a fuss if you don't get seated and you see everybody else around you.
Yeah,
Because it
do
doesn't.
say something.
It
Don't just
winds
stand
me
there.
up.
Yeah,
I got
It
we
winds
had
me up.
to.
We
Yeah.
had, it felt like
Yeah.
an hour wait.
It was an hour when we checked in. They said about 40 minutes, which was it was Sunday at lunchtime. I could expect that. They also had about a party of about 30 people making a huge noise throughout the restaurant. So obviously they were busy. We could get that, but it took them about over an hour, I think, to see.
I wouldn't have stayed. I'd have
See
been
us.
gone.
I was looking
We
on my
were
phone
very
for an
tentative.
ADR and going like, how can I escape this? And it was, I think Claire, I messaged you on the thing. It's like, that was
We
the
very
day.
nearly ended up at Gico.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd
we
have been
nearly did.
elsewhere. But
Can I just point out as well? I think this is really important that people realise this, because actually, we're four people talking about Orlando restaurants in the here and now from experience very recent, and we've always been very positive. We've always been the type of podcast that will come back and say, "Oh, we've been to here or we've been to there, and it's been really good, or it's been not been very good." I think that the experience overall this summer has been one where it's been okay.
Yeah.
But I think the experience from even going back, if I go back 10 years and you look at an awful lot of places on an evening, irrespective of where they were, on site, off site, wherever,
It was quiet.
but particularly off site, the actual sort of covers that they've got are massively down, and we really noticed this, that you could just turn up and you would basically be seated straight away, whereas in previous years you'd be you'd be looking at a long wait. I know you guys had that experience at Longhorns.
I have to admit, with that wait, it wasn't just the wait that was the frustration. It was when there was a family who were seated, but we ordered salad. Obviously, you get side salad with your steak, and obviously it didn't come with the steak it come before, but they wouldn't give us cutlery. And it was like we were having to ask
come
every
on.
single step, so we had no
Yeah.
cutlery, and there was just issues every step of the way. When they did one of the orders wrong,
It was the eye roll that she gave when we asked her to take it back and make it right
yes,
that annoyed me. And that wasn't our main server, I will point
that
out.
was someone just
That
delivering
was
from the
someone that
kitchen.
was just helping her out.
yeah, but
That's not good.
it all
But-
plays part of your
Yeah.
experience, doesn't it? It's not.
Yeah, we know which one it is, and we're never
We
going
don't
to
want
that
to go
one
back
again.
to that one,
Yeah.
which is a shame
No.
because we've been to that one before
Right.
and it wasn't
So
a problem.
I think all of this shows that restaurants go through phases, don't they? And sometimes they're great,
definitely.
sometimes they're not. And things that we've loved, we now aren't so in love with.
Yeah,
Somewhere I forgot to mention when we were talking about good places, and I know I mentioned it on a Wednesday, was the Celebration Brewing Company.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I would really encourage people, and I know we're about to talk about something else, and to venture to somewhere new, which someone has
Mhm.
recommended when you don't know quite what you're going into.
Yeah.
Go with it. Take a risk. We had the most incredible lunch there. It was so good. It's such good value. And I was just pulled the menu up, and they do these called potato. So it's at a place called Celebration Point, which is a new residential area. There's a lovely Publix that is a very cool 50s theming and looks a bit weird, but it's great. And there's a few things in that area.
Okay.
And it's just like on the side of a strip. And the beers are amazing. They do these fries, which are $13, and the portion is big enough for about 4 people to share.
Okay.
And it's hand-cut herb crusted fries with beer cheese, bacon, brown gravy, parsley, and Creole dust.
Okay.
Now, it's kind of like poutine, but without the cheese curds, just with beer cheese on it. So it's like a mixture between a pretzel topping and a poutine topping. They were unbelievably good and like Moorish. When you get that massive umami and you're just like, I need to eat more of these. They're really savoury and delicious.
Yeah.
That mixed with like proper posh chips and gravy.
Yeah.
Really. That's all it was.
I just remember we need to add that to our list for
But they
January.
thinking that as well, actually.
They also do salads, which any of the salads can be made into wraps. And the wrap, we had one to share. And it was far more than we could possibly eat. We had 2 sides. We had the chips. We had this another starter. Millie had something, and then we had a wrap between us, and there was so much food. We took some with us. Great value, friendly team. I will go back without a question. Definitely on the list. If you like a beer, there's lots of different options, of different, intensities of tastiness.
No, it sounds good, that, Claire. I like the sound of that.
Okay, we're going to move on to our last topic because time is pressing on. So,
Yep.
top experiences on or off site.
Ooh.
We need to be quick. Ben.
Spending time with everyone in the villa.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
And start mine again.
And having my first Chinese.
Having your first Chinese.
Oh, do you know something?
Yeah.
Going back to our previous
We're
topic.
still giggling about that.
Yeah, previous topic. The 126 Chinese on the 192 as a food place was last year. We found it last year.
Yeah.
We used it a couple of times. I'm not going to own up to how many times we used it this year. But
Sufficient to
it was,
test
yes,
it properly.
I think that's exactly it. But it was superb. And
Yeah.
it's not the type of place that you actually would consider, but it really, as
Food's
Chinese food out there goes, is absolutely superb.
Yeah.
But yeah, first Chinese.
Yeah.
Big.
It was just lovely to spend. It was on the same day that we had the issues at Longhorn, and it was just
Yep.
it was needed.
And you got to see the
Yeah.
villa.
Oh,
And now
yeah.
you're thinking about
Now
the
we're
villa.
Now we're
thinking
thinking
of
of booking
booking.
a villa at some point.
Yeah.
It's I totally understand why you and John
Book one.
book villas,
villa.
and it
Mhm.
makes so much sense.
So much space and
And when we
freedom.
run out of DVC points in 2027, we go, oh, we need an extra week somewhere. It's
Yeah.
like,
There's also flexibility, Ben, and I think that's
yeah,
again,
it's a location thing, and especially when driving
Yeah.
now. A few years ago, when we started driving in Florida.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that means just it's so easy. It's the reason why we originally booked January's trip just to be on an Uber and just sort of just go to the park to just where we
It's
wanted to.
universal.
Yeah, just reach Universal.
Yeah.
But
I'll
what the
tell you
plan
what,
now is
rather
with
than-
having the car, the
Yeah,
just
we've got
exploration
so
of
much experience of villas and things like that, but rather
Yeah.
than sharing it now,
Yeah.
I think let's put it on the list for upcoming planning
Yeah.
shows as
Yeah.
well, because I think for a lot of people, and don't take this the wrong way, but if you've actually been in that bubble and happy in the bubble for so long, it's very difficult to imagine how it is when you are booking elsewhere and things
Yeah.
like that. And I think we could explore this as even just a series of shows to help you guys decide what you're doing in 2027 as well. So
Yeah, hold those thoughts.
Lo-
I think it'd be good
yeah,
to
let's keep
investigate for
it.
another
I
show.
think it'd be really useful. It really will.
John.
I tell you what, yeah. Again, villa that we stayed in was superb. I can't. That really for us was a highlight. We nearly booked an on-site hotel. We looked at Universal, we looked at Disney, and then we couldn't justify paying £300 a night.
No.
And then we just thought, well,
Yeah.
why? Because actually, we had a villa. Our per night stay in the villa was spot on, and it worked for us. But the best thing we did, and this is something that again I think comes from our cultural ambassador to the Great British Mickey Waffle, who had taken Josh and Morg up to Winter Garden
Yeah.
last year. But we decided it was chucking it down with rain, and the forecast for I think it was our final Saturday
It was.
before we came home, and we thought I'm not going to the park early on because the forecast was hideous, and I just thought I'm just going to get wet feet, so we got in the car and we went to Winter Garden. The first thing we did was I actually planned a route, and that was the best thing because we basically went in a circular route. So we went on the toll road on the way up there because it's the quickest, but on the way back we came back down on the non-toll road, which I'll talk about in a moment. We went to a place called Recycling the Magic. Now, that had been recommended to me by a listener to the show, Izzy, who I'm teaching to drive, because her family had been to its previous incarnation that was in Lakeland. Now they've moved to Winter Garden. They're on West Colonial Drive in Lakeland. It doesn't look like a shop. So as you drive past, you're like, hang on a minute, this is like it's got like, it looks like a house. And you walk in and it is like a treasure trove of Disney memorabilia from every era that you could ever wish. Now, some of it's not cheap. I'll put that out there right now. Some of it is, and unfortunately, some of the stuff that I've collected over the years, Vinylmations in particular, seem to be very cheap, and don't have a great deal of resaleability. But some of the stuff in there was it was like walking into like a museum where you had the ability to buy things. And
Amazing.
and the soundtrack while you're in the shop was like, at one point they had the Wishes soundtrack on.
Oh,
And you're just thinking, hang on, this is like top of the subliminal shopper, sort of trying to make you stay in the
Yeah.
shop and spend money.
Yeah.
right.
There was thunder and lightning outside, so there was no point in going anywhere else. And so we stayed, and it was just an amazing a treasure trove, but one I think that will stand out in our minds as just such an amazing place. And then we went to Winter Garden, and we just the most amazing experience. It was because it was the Saturday, it was the farmers market. They were packing up when we arrived because we spent far too long in the Disney shop. But just a beautiful place. We went into, there's a railway museum in there, which had a little Disney sort of sign outside, and trying to basically as a lure to get you in. And there wasn't any traces of any Disney stuff in there, but we fell for it. But it was free. The parking was free. Little note to any British council: if you want to get tourists to come and visit your town, free parking on a Saturday. The place was buzzing. Every coffee shop that we tried to go into was bustling. It was full to the
Wow.
rafters. It was just had a unique atmosphere, and I can see now why Zach took Josh and Mog there.
Yeah.
Just as a little, you're not talking. It's about a 40-minute drive away from the 192. The one thing that you will get is a little bit of a experience of what a proper American town is. And you need to keep, as you're driving, you need to keep your eyes open, because there is some absolutely beautiful little bits of housing in different bits, but real old traditional American housing in the actual town of Winter Garden. As you depart and you are heading back to Orlando, you go past some of the posh bits, and you really do. You need you when you're driving and you're thinking, okay, right. Oh, make a note of that place if you want to rent a villa. That place looks nice. Oh, that place, and then you get back down to the 192, and you look. Oh, maybe not. We're not staying. I don't think we'll be staying there. Look at the price of that.
Goes into 5 figures, and you're like,
just
not for me.
But stunning.
Ooh,
I don't often say
Yeah.
that about many places, and as a day out, it really did fit the bill for us, because it then meant that we got back, and then we could go out the parks,
Yeah.
and we'd probably escaped the worst of the weather. But just Winter Garden, we have explored Florida quite widely in the past. This is actually a really nice, touchable distance away to actually say that you've seen a little bit of proper Florida. You don't have to go to the coast. You don't have to go as far northeast as St. Augustine. You can actually go and just experience something completely different and completely non-theme park based as well.
I'm so annoyed we didn't go. We talked about it and didn't, and now I'm annoyed. Having heard from you, but also, in case you haven't listened, the 15th of September show, where our GB Mickey Waffle Junior show, where Josh and Morg talk to aforementioned friend of the show, cultural exchange ambassador, and all-round nice guy Zach Brown. They talk about Winter Garden quite extensively as well, and I'm just so annoyed that I didn't I didn't commit to going, and I was. It was on the tip of my tongue. I was like, should we go? Should we not? Should we go? Should we not? And I went, no, let's do something. And I'm annoyed with myself, so I have to put it on the list.
I think, Claire, that is very often the bit where, and we've done that before.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you're sitting there and you're thinking, nah, I can't be
bothered.
I can't be bothered. It's too much hassle.
Yeah.
You
I've
That's
got to go and
literally what happened.
Yeah, you write a list of all the stuff you might want to do, and it pops into your head
Yeah.
while you're out there. But then you just go like, "No, I'll just stick with what I normally do."
Right. And
So
when I've got
it's
home, I've sat there and gone, oh my God, we were there for nearly 3 weeks and there's so many things we didn't do. And that is top of the list of the things we didn't do. And I'm annoyed.
But that means that you'll do it the next
Yeah.
time.
Absolutely.
We've wanted to do it for a long, long time. And actually, in the past, I think we've driven through it, but we haven't stopped and we haven't
Yeah.
haven't
Oh,
soaked it
no.
up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really, that was one thing. I think as well, for anyone who does plan on doing it, just don't fall for that trap of just going to the outlets. Because actually, a trip to the outlets on Saturday in particular is the most unpleasant,
Yes.
most
Oh,
unpleasant
it's
experience.
horrible.
This
You
was
don't know, I've done
different.
that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was different, and actually,
Yeah.
I'm so pleased that we did that rather than going to the outlets, because that's our go-to sort of.
Yeah.
If we're not
If
going
you're
to
not sure
parks,
what to do,
we'll go shopping.
And now you'll go to Winter Garden and you'll grab a coffee in the shop and be lovely.
yeah,
and
Yeah,
buy
and-
something from Recycling the Magic.
Or not.
yeah, which
Or
might
not.
which might be more expensive than going to the
Go to the
outlets.
outlets,
Yes.
Who knows? So for me, and this is a hybrid experience because that's how I roll. For me, my top experience of the whole summer, apart from obviously hanging out with you guys, was experiencing, was experiencing and really connecting in a couple of places with some of the amazing musicians that work at Walt Disney World. And by that, I'm talking about Voices of Liberty.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Dapper Dans. I'm talking about Grayson, particularly, at Casey's Corner, and also Randy Morris, who was playing at the Hoop-de-Doo.
Yeah.
And I was trying to explain to someone that I know who's a musician the other day, and she was like, "Oh, and what did you do? Did you go on the attractions?" I said, "I did, but actually, this isn't the thing that floats my boat when I'm there. I love the attractions; it's great, but actually, the thing that keeps me going back and the thing that really engages me is seeing these incredibly talented cast members." I actually sent her some videos that I'd taken at Voices of Liberty, and she was like, "Wow, how many shows a day do they do?" I said, "I do like 5, maybe 15-minute sets." And she's like, "That's incredible." I said, "Can you imagine? That's your job." And she's like, "I know."
Yeah.
I had so many lovely chats. I had a chat with Brandon. I had a chat with Carl. So gracious, and actually they love having a chat with people who are there listening to them
Yeah.
afterwards. They want to know about you as much as you want to know about them. And actually I had a great conversation with Carl about who does all the arrangements for them, because actually I want to go and find them. I want them to take them to my
Yeah.
choir and use them. And he gave me the list, the name of the person who does all their arranging. He was the person who instigated Voices of Liberty, and
Oh,
so
wow.
and his website. And now I can go in there and I can email him and get copies of some of the stuff that they sing. And it's just like this level of personal connection,
Yeah.
like having a chat with Grayson after he's played, and like the
Oh, it's
first time.
amazing.
And I arrived late that morning because that was the day we went to Magic Kingdom. I left my phone in the car, and I
Oh.
I had to go all the way back to the car to pick my phone. And the others went, Morgan and Millie and Dan went off to the park, and I met them there. And I messaged them when I got to the park where we're listening to Grayson. And as I came round the corner, having run through the Emporium,
Yeah.
he had just locked the piano. And I was like, "You finished? You didn't wait for me." And he was just like, "I'm so sorry, but I'll be back in 20 minutes." And I'll be
Yeah.
back. I'll be back. Yes, I like the Dans. They're
Yeah.
always amazing.
Yeah.
I love the Cadaver Dans.
Yeah.
These people are so talented and
Yeah.
are so humble with it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, the videos that I shared with my friend, she was like, "How are people walking past when they're doing that? How are people just
I
walking past them
I
when they're
don't
singing?"
get it.
And I hadn't even clocked it because obviously I'm not. I'm stood there and I'm watching them and videoing them. But there are people just walking in the park and they're on their way to Space Mountain. They're on their way to wherever, Tiana's, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And this is just noise. And for me, this is the essential, and the attractions are the afterthought for me. So
Yeah.
that would be my number one, I think.
Yeah. That just reminds me of the funny experience we had when we saw Grayson for the first time this trip. It's like, yeah, enjoying, and it's like, oh, who's in the
Who's in the
background?
back of the
John and Alison.
or in the back of your shot?
But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but the thing was, I never even spotted you, and
That's
and
so
this
funny.
and
Yeah.
this sums it up because you become so engaged in watching a musician
Oh,
at their absolute finest. I had no idea that Ben was the other side and videoing it.
it's so funny.
And I went back out. You sent me a text. We were leaving Magic Kingdom shortly after, and he said, "I think we just saw you." And we were on the ferry boat back to the car park, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Hang on." So I looked at the pictures I'd taken of Grayson, and there's Ben in the background of my picture. I'm just like, "This is just
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous."
Yeah.
And
Ben had messaged me saying, "We've just seen Grayson and John was in the background," and he
Yeah.
didn't even notice us.
I
Yeah.
look forward to that in your vlog, Ben. I must admit, 'cause
Yeah.
actually,
Oh, that's
look
brilliant.
who's
Oh,
there. I think what we all need to do, and I think anybody who listens to what we're talking about at the moment, if you get it, make sure you go and watch these people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it would be so easy for them to be, in a way, like the trolley show.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
cast to one side
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not to return.
Yeah.
The actual magic of live music is something that, has actually inspired my kids massively.
Mm.
As I've got, I know I spoke about our Joe going to uni, but he's
Yeah.
gone to uni to do music. And actually, I don't think if he hadn't had that whole build-up of being on holiday and his ears being bombarded with so many different
This is it.
live experiences,
Yeah.
he wouldn't have that ability to actually understand it. There's a
Yeah.
lot of devotion, a lot of practice that goes into being that good.
Totally. And actually, it's fascinating because I sit there and I watch Grayson play.
Mhm.
He is
Oh.
insanely talented. And when you
Yeah.
hear him talk about, like, people are saying, well, how do you, he did a Phantom of the Opera sort of set. It was
Yeah.
about, I've recorded the whole thing, it was like 6 minutes long. And he just moved from one thing to the other. And then someone said, oh, could you play this? He's like, yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to go. I'll mix in Happy Birthday with something else.
Yeah.
And he's literally making it up as he goes along. He's improvising.
Yeah.
And I turned around to Millie and I was like, that's what happens when you practice. Because people say to him, how
Yeah.
do you get to this stuff? He says,
Yeah.
I just practice it. I have
It's-
to practice. I
yeah.
practice hours and hours and hours. He says, he never as a child got on with like formal piano teaching. He found it really painful to play classical music from books.
Yeah.
So as soon as he was able to play, he then started playing in a different way and playing by ear and learning how to do what he does now because he
Yeah.
didn't like the formal training. I mean, he's an incredibly accomplished performer and an amazing musician, but it just shows you don't have to follow the rules. You do
Yeah.
what works.
Yeah.
But you do have to practice, which is what I keep reminding her.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to mention in top experiences? Or
Yeah.
shall we go to, I don't know whether we should go to bottom. I wonder whether we just leave it on a positive
Oh, yeah, I
note.
can leave
I
on
think we should
top.
keep it on top.
Top experience, I'm going to say,
Halloween party.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Mm.
Yes.
Candy. Still got candy.
Yeah.
Still got
A
candy.
lot of candy.
That'll last till Christmas.
First time dressing up properly.
Yes.
Oh, and your
Getting
costumes
best
were great.
costume.
I forgot about that. I forgot about our best costume awards. Yes,
Yeah.
that was funny. They were giving out badges outside the
Crystal Palace.
Yeah, and we walked
Yeah.
past, and actually we got a lot of comments about cool
Yes.
Yep.
costumes. And then sometimes they saw Millie and they saw me, and then they saw Dan, and then they saw, oh, Felix is
And
here
it's-
too. Yeah, it was really
Yeah.
cool. And there was a kid when we went to Tony's Town Square who was also dressed as Felix, who came to find
Oh,
Ben.
that was
Oh,
brilliant.
It
wow.
was so cute. He must have been like 8 or 9, I guess.
Yeah.
He had a gold hammer and Ben did not. He did
Oh,
not.
you know,
Yeah. Oh, that's so
yeah,
good.
it was really cool. And it just, I think it makes a difference. I don't know, you guys, it's the first time you dressed up. Did it make a difference for you
Yes.
being
Yes,
dressed up?
it did.
Yeah.
What difference did it make?
It felt,
Cast interactions and
Mhm.
interactions with other guests
yeah.
and just shouting, hi, love your costume,
It-
that sort of thing.
It
as
felt
you
more of a
walk
party
past.
atmosphere than just a regular, like, after hours event.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
That's how we felt last year, Ben.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
must admit, I actually couldn't envisage us doing it again without dressing up. And I know that sounds really
Yeah.
stupid because I hate dressing up.
Yeah.
And I've said
Yeah.
that for a long time. But actually,
It makes
This-
so much of a difference.
hate
it
It
it.
really
does.
does.
But it changes your whole persona changes because actually, one, you feel a little bit of a uncomfortable inside yourself, but actually,
Yep.
because you are making that effort, the cast members go to the nth degree to
Yeah.
make you feel so much more welcome. And when you get other guests who are commenting,
Yeah.
and it's just like it adds so much to your experience of the whole night. And actually, having done the Halloween party and gone sort of half baked at, we'll wear autumnal colours and we'll be all right. Actually, it was nowhere near the experience that we had when we dressed up. And if anyone else ever plans on doing it, just make the effort. I know it appears to be a pain in the backside to do, but it is so worth it. And Claire, you've had 2 years of actually forcing
I know.
the rest of us to
Encouraging.
Facilitating.
facilitating.
I
But
try
it's
to.
been so worthwhile.
I try and explain it. I tried to explain to someone, and for me, the difference that it made having dressed up and got costumes, and they got gradually more elaborate as the years have gone on. Not in costume, I felt like I was attending it. When I'm in costume, I feel like I'm part of it, and you're
Yes.
included in it. You are
Great way to
part of
describe
the
it.
atmosphere. You are bringing the party with you, and you
Yeah.
are included in that slightly secret. This is really cool. We're all dressing up, having fun. Because even the cast members aren't in their normal costumes; they're in their Halloween
Yeah.
costumes as well. And there is something about you feel like you're in it with the cast
Yeah.
rather than someone who's just there
Yeah.
experiencing it. And I think that's the best way to describe it. That you are able to then create some of that magic for other guests, but also for yourself. And the more you put in, the more you get out. That's the
I
general
enjoyed
rule.
going to it in August than I have in September, late September, like we've done before.
Yeah.
I mean, we were
Much
lucky.
be-
We
much
had a
better.
lovely evening. It wasn't too hot.
Yep.
Thank
Oh,
goodness,
yeah.
because I was
Thank
wearing a
God.
lot of layers.
Yes.
And it was dry. We had a dry because the parties either side of us were complete washouts. So
Yeah.
we were really lucky with the weather. But I love that experience of like the knowing looks from the cast. They're like, yeah, you've made the effort, thank you.
Yeah.
Smiles, the buttons, the congratulations, great
The
costumes.
server at Tony's didn't get it.
No.
I'm not sure what the server at Tony's did get. He was Mr. Miserable, but maybe that's just his Halloween persona. I don't know, but
Yep.
I'm
You
really
think he was
glad.
dressed as grumpy?
Maybe underneath his uniform, he had his t-shirt. I'm really glad that I've persuaded all of you that dressing up is the way forward. I hate dressing up, as you can tell. But I just think it's so much fun, and you do have to put a bit of effort in. But half the fun is making the costumes, or
It's trying to work out what you're going to do, and then like,
Yeah.
okay, this
you
is
don't
Especially when you're not very crafty like I am.
have to spend a lot of money.
Vinted is your friend.
Right, most of the stuff that we had for our costumes was bought on Vinted and then adapted, crafted, a bit of glue, a bit of sewing. It didn't take a huge amount of effort, and it was totally worth it. So I'm really glad you enjoyed it, and hopefully, maybe by January, I might have eaten all the candy. I don't know. We've got an awful lot left. We've given a lot away, but
I haven't given any
We haven't
away
given
yet.
any away yet.
I've got
Our
some sitting inside me. I
5.1
keep looking at it.
kilos.
Like the funny starbursts. They're
Oh,
weird.
that's really nice.
Yeah, the watermelon starbursts. They're weird, but
Yeah.
they're nice. And the
I've
green
not had
Twixes.
was it the lifesavers?
I've had one.
No.
It's okay.
As long as it's not a green one, you're okay.
Yes.
But yeah, we had fun, and we got a lot of candy, and I can't wait to go next year. Already started having costume conversations.
Oh dear.
Oh, I love it.
Slippy slope.
I know. It goes on all year. Anything else that you want to raise as a top experience? I'm going to say having a catch up with Zach Brown and Jason and Crystal and Matt was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, John, you spoke to a few people who listened to the show,
You
had
listen
catch
to
up
the
with
show
some,
as well.
Yeah.
and catch up with
again,
various friends around and about as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I must say that I know it happened last year.
Oh,
I know it's
Kelly.
happened this year, but as we've gone on as a podcast, it becomes really quite a a thing when people recognise you and people actually
We didn't
stop
have
you
that.
in the park. And that was never something I ever thought would happen.
You and
but
Tim
it-
Tracker.
uh,
Yeah.
but it's just like, it's one of them things, and it's just like, it's been so lovely in actually getting to meet people who either watch on a Wednesday, or they listen to the podcast, or watch the podcast. And it was so nice to actually just be appreciative in person
Yeah.
of actually just, and again, how much information they have taken, so much information out of the shows that we've done,
Mhm.
and they're saying, yeah, and hopefully we never get the blame for some of the rubbish that we talk,
Or how much
Yeah.
money they spend. That's not our
Yeah,
fault.
I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm
No.
thinking, oh my word, I
No.
can't. And they're
Yeah.
talking about parts of a show that we maybe recorded 2 or 3 years ago, and did I really say that?
Don't remember
And it's
that.
just like, yeah, but
I feel so bad on his bought DVC because we recommended it.
exactly.
No, we don't recommend. We just should give our experiences.
But but I think that's where we started the whole this show, and we started off and talking about the fact that, we're well over time, but everything that we talk about comes from the heart, and it
Yeah.
comes from our own experiences, and it comes from the times that we've either spent
Yeah.
in Walt Disney World or Universal, or times that we've actually spent planning and actually
Yeah.
trying to arrange trips ourselves.
Yeah.
What we shared truly does come from the heart, and I think that's the best thing. We're not actually trying to tell you to go and
We're
you
not
must
selling
do
anything.
No.
Yeah, you
There-
don't have to. and that's,
There's no right way or wrong way of doing Disney or
No,
Universe
there's
or
not.
doing your holidays. You got to find out what that thing is for you.
And that will always remain at our core. And I just think
Yeah.
I think it's such a nice thing that people actually take that on board for their holidays, and actually go and enjoy a nice time, because sometimes when you read so many different people's Facebook, I'm trying to think of the right way of describing this, but without
Experiences.
it's not just experiences, but they go on Facebook and they just offload.
Yeah.
The fact that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
went to the Halloween party, it rained, the parade never went.
Yeah.
It's Florida.
Yep.
These things happen, and there's nothing at Disney when the rides don't operate in Epic Universe. It's not Universal's fault. These things happen,
Yeah.
and you actually need to just take a little bit of step
Yeah.
away and actually understand that
Yeah.
it's not about you. It's
Yeah.
about the bigger experience, and maybe people will enjoy it a little bit more if they're not constantly seeking something to complain about.
I've got one quick thing to add to top experiences.
Oh, go on.
Tampa Airport.
Yeah.
Best experience. Best
Yeah.
airport experience
Yeah.
ever.
So I've converted you to
Yeah.
costumes. I'm absolutely
Take all the
taking full
credit.
responsibility and credit for this. Costumes
Yeah.
at Halloween party at Tampa Airport. Yay.
Yeah.
And Villa.
And Villa.
And a villa. There you are.
Yeah.
I can mic
And the
drop
and the
moment.
Chinese.
And the
Yeah.
Chinese.
And the Chinese.
Mic drop moment. My work here is done.
I mean, unfortunately, we're probably not going to be going back into Tampa until 2027.
I'm already
but-
looking at Tampa for next year. We've got it. We've already booked the villa. Did that today. Same one, but
Yeah.
we need to sort some flights out, and I think Tampa might be on the cards for next year. Just because I miss it, actually. I do really love Tampa.
It's a great airport.
Mm.
Smooth sailing, both on the way in and on the
I
way
was going to
out.
say that sounded like a cruise ship. Smooth
I've
sailing.
got so many things
So
that we
quick,
didn't.
so easy.
Oh,
Yeah. I've
yeah.
got things this year that we didn't do that I've absolutely already put on my list for next year. Bucky's,
Yes.
I am coming for you.
Yeah.
But I think, we can talk about that in a future show, actually. And I think there's a number of things we've touched on tonight that I think we should pick up. I think that, we have had an amazing summer. And I know Robin and Simon aren't here tonight. They've literally landed back from Disneyland 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
So they're probably asleep.
Yep.
I know that they'll want to talk about their experience. They had some
Yeah.
really cool things happen
Definitely.
while they were there, and they've been in California and experienced all the things. So we'll pick up with them from their trip as well. But I think, as the summer goes, it feels like so long ago, but it really was amazing and epic. Not just the park, but all the experiences we had. And I think that there's a number of things we can pick up, both in planning for our next trips, John, I'm including you in that because I know that you'll be getting
Definitely.
it.
Yeah.
I've got a
Yeah.
Christmas trip coming up. You've got a January trip. I've got a May trip and a really good story about renting DVC points. There's all sorts of things we're going to talk about in the next few months. So I hope that if you're listening today and you've enjoyed our content, if you're first time listening to us, we don't normally go on quite as much as, well, no, that's,
We go on.
Yes, we do.
yeah, we do.
We were going to be focused.
This is focused. 1 hour
This is
45
focused.
is focus.
It's not 3 hours. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the you have what is it, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a grand finale. Got
3
seconds.
hours.
Yeah. I think that we've probably covered most of the things that we want to highlight, but I'm sure we'll talk about the summer at other points as well. But we did do a couple of.
And also not just on the podcast, but also on the Wednesday
That's what
show,
I'm saying. We've done a
which
couple
is
of
also
Wednesday shows.
available. Also available as a
As a
podcast as well. So
It is.
if you
yeah.
do, you might see that there's a our live Wednesday show does go out on a Friday as well.
Yeah.
So on your podcast reel or whatever you want to call it,
Provide
you
your
might
choice.
see
It's
us
on your feed.
popping up there.
It'll appear
So
on your
just,
feed.
yeah, just
So yeah,
dip in, dip out.
if you've enjoyed it, share it with your friends. Tell the people that you want. If you're trying to persuade someone to go to Orlando on holiday next year, share this show with them, because if
Tell
this
them, give
doesn't
me a
persuade them,
phone. Tell me, give me a
Let
phone.
us know.
I'll carry the bags. You're
Right.
all right.
let us know what you need us to say, and we'll help you out. We're here for
Yeah.
you. We've got your back. We're your wingman.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we are available on all socials at GB Mickey Waffle. You can find us on all podcast providers, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places, and also our YouTube channel if you want to see us while we are chatting and watch our expressions. It's sometimes fun.
How many eye rolls we get in the show
Watching
sometimes.
Claire's eye
I've been
roll,
very
yeah.
good tonight. I'll have
I
you
You
know.
have
know.
been very good, actually. Yeah.
See what I'm drinking, because there's usually a glass of wine involved somewhere along the line. There
Has
was
to be.
earlier. It's gone. That's what happens when you're an hour and 45 minutes in.
Yeah.
But certainly our live show and our podcast are all on our YouTube channel at Great British Mickey Waffle. We would love to have you part of our community. Ben has just relaunched it in a new graphic, the Wafflers Arms, our Facebook community, our virtual pub. We share all sorts of bits and pieces in there. We would love to see you there and join us for a virtual drink. You have to buy your own because we can't. And we share all sorts of things. And I thought it would be worth mentioning today how excited and proud we are. Our friend of the show, honorary waffler, just all round amazing performer and incredible person, Katie Wetzel, also known as Dory in Finding Nemo, Big Blue and Beyond, formerly Finding Nemo the musical, who has received her Walt Disney Legacy Award in the last week.
That was just
It's
incredible.
amazing.
She's buzzing.
I
That's all I
bet
can
she is.
say.
Can't say.
I might, I'll share a bit of video with you after the show.
Amazing.
She sent me
yeah.
over a week ago, and I'm not being allowed
Oh,
to share
brilliant.
it.
She's
but
got a blue badge now, like Gracie.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
It's
what a week.
beautiful, and
Yeah.
actually, I think that probably is a really good point at which to actually bring up. It's the cast members that
Right.
make your trip, and
Yep.
Yeah.
Claire, I take my hat off to you and Millie, because actually you went and gave cast members so many just little gifts that were so
Yeah.
beautifully and so well received. And these
That was
guys,
fun.
as we know from our Junior Waffle series, they were out there for 3 months, but some of these guys are away from home for a year, and actually just a familiar
It's hard
a
work.
familiar voice and a
Mm.
conversation with someone who just understands
Mm.
and isn't just there to give them grief because actually
Yeah.
you're providing
Yeah.
them with an ice cream that's a little bit runnier than you would get in the UK.
It's
Cut
frozen.
them a-
It's going to
it's-
melt.
Gonna melt.
Right. You'd think
Cut them
people
a
would
bit of
realise that.
slack. And
I
I
had
think,
some great conversations with the UK Pavilion cast members this year, and just
Yeah.
like said to I get it. I know how hard it is for you. I've heard of personal experience as a parent of someone whose child has been out here working. We get it; it's hard work, and we appreciate it. So
yeah. And some of the reactions we had were quite profound, I must admit, because actually,
Who
just for
knew
the sake of
2 fruit
just for-
salads and a blackjack would make their day.
and just for the conversation, I
I know.
and I think that
Yeah.
if you take nothing else away from this podcast, just show your cast members a little bit of love. And
I think it goes back to the Wednesday show we did about how to be a good guest.
Yeah.
Be kind. Be kind. That's all.
Yeah, and it costs you nothing.
Exactly. Anyway, it has been an absolute pleasure to do this epic show tonight. It has gone on a bit.
We're
Hopefully,
still in October though, which is positive.
only just. We will be back in the middle of the month with another show on the 15th of October. Meanwhile, if you want to go back and listen to the 15th of September, you can listen to the GB Mickey Waffle Jr. with Morg and Josh and Zach Brown. If you haven't listened, do listen. It's actually a brilliant show. I think it's their best one yet. And they're already talking about what's coming next. So, who knows? And we will see you live on a Wednesday at 8:30 GMT or... Well, it'll come in as that funny season where the time difference goes wonky.
No, it's that time of year.
Best thing to do is if you head to YouTube and click
It'll
on
tell you.
subscribe
It will
and
tell
make sure you
you.
enable
Yeah.
notifications, you'll know when we go live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's probably the best way to do it.
Clocks doing funny things with Central Time and Pacific Time.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even going
Yeah.
to hazard a guess.
No.
So
No,
good luck with
it's
that. We will see you live when we're live. So in the words of someone very clever, we'll see you soon.
We'll see you
real
real
soon.
soon.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing